Hey, wonderful world of the internet. Thanks for tuning in. What a tricky beast the internet is. So technical difficulties aside, thank you for tuning in to Esteban for Congress, UBI Town Hall. We originally planned to have this event at the Centennial Hills Library. Same date, same time. But unfortunately, the Las Vegas Clark County Library District had closed all of its rental facilities from now through January 30th. So on a very short notice, we unfortunately had to cancel our in-person event, and instead we decided to do this online as our very first virtual town hall. Facebook Live seemed like the best place to do it. We have a ton of followers and many friends, family, and supporters that are tuned into Facebook. So once we have this up, you will have the chance to submit questions as comments below. We think this is a pretty good interactive and engaging format platform to do a virtual town hall. So fingers crossed it goes well, and if not, we'll find a new way to upload these and to interact with people and to continue our town hall series, because we're dedicated to doing one every single month. We would like to do more. Frankly, we would like to do more. But especially with the constraints brought upon us by current events, we have to reanalyze and to do our campaign a little differently. So engaging and communicating with voters and to Nevadans will now require us to seek new methods and allow that just being purely online. Facebook seems like a great platform, but again, if anyone has suggestions or ways that we can do this differently, please go ahead and share that with me, because let me tell you, this was not the best to get started just up front, but I'm glad. Even if we're a little late, we're rolling. So let's go ahead and let's get this started. Thank you again for tuning in. This is UBI Town Hall. So my name is Royce Esteban. I am the youngest candidate for Congress in 2020. I was very inspired to run because I come from really a lineage of public service. Virtually every tier, every generation of my family has committed their life to public service in some shape or form, whether it's military or education or community service. I've always been very engaged with the community. I've always wanted to lend a helping hand, and everyone absolutely can and should. Okay, we can do so much within our community without needing to be an elected leader. But we also have to ask ourselves, is our leadership representing us? And when that is not the case, we have to look at ourselves to run. When our voices fall on deaf ears in Congress, it's up to everyday people to rise up and take leadership. March 9th, I went to the Nevada Secretary of State, where I signed papers and officially filed to be a candidate on the ballot this year. So it is absolutely official. We put our money where our mouth is, and I will be a candidate for Nevada's 4th Congressional District this November 3rd of this year. So because I'm running, and I've been very honored to take the nomination from the Libertarian Party of Nevada, I am going to carry that nomination to the ballot, and we are going to not overlook, but we're not minor parties don't participate in the primaries. So we will not be participating in the Nevada's primary, which is in June. We will be looking forward to taking on the nominees from the primary in the general election. So again, that's November 3rd. We're going to be on the ballot. I am the Libertarian candidate for Nevada's 4th Congressional District. Just to kind of take a look at what Nevada's 4th Congressional District looks like, it's actually a sprawling district, one of the largest in the nation. It collects several different counties, including northern Clark County. That also includes North Las Vegas, and North Las Vegas is included, as well as Pahrump and Mesquite, and the many small little towns throughout rural Nevada, and that's virtually all of central Nevada there. There's White Pine County, Nye County, just to name a few. So it's important that whoever is the representative of Nevada's 4th Congressional District isn't just focused on its urban populace, but also those out there in rural Nevada. These are a large number of Nevadans, even if it's just very widely dispersed, not large collections of people really throughout this desert. And they're faced with a lot of unique challenges that are specific to living here in the Mojave Desert. And just the Great Basin Desert has its own challenges with vegetation and water, as well as access to medical treatment. Okay, so healthcare is a huge concern to these Nevadans as well. They face challenges that are very different from what people in Clark County face. So we have to be very considerate of our entire district, not just those that vote regularly, but also those who feel disenchanted by our current system, as well as those who are currently representing them. We can do a lot better. And again, you know, part of this journey, part of this campaign is not just connecting with voters, not just listening to their suggestions, their issues, and the things that the challenges they face in their life. It's also about learning from people, because we have to understand that not every topic, not every nuance to politics, not any one representative will have answers to all of it. It's important that we listen. We listen to our constituents, and we learn. We learn, and we accept the fact that we can learn from people, and that we don't have all the answers, and we shouldn't act like we have all of the answers. So again, part of this town hall series, this monthly town hall series that we launched just last month, this is a photo from what I believe was a highly successful event. We had a really good turnout of people who came out to one of my favorite parts of town, which is the historic west side of Las Vegas. And we posted up at the West Las Vegas Library, and we had a great gathering of friends, family, and new faces, many new faces, a lot of people who were very excited to have someone who was actually going to listen to them in this race and in this lead up to the election. So we want to keep that spirit alive. We weren't planning for this to be our first virtual town hall, but we take the hits and we try to make the best out of what we have. And Facebook Live is where we've decided to land UBI Town Hall. But again, there's a major elephant in the room that we need to discuss before we can even discuss UBI, which is why all of you are tuned in. We're facing a global crisis. It is a public health emergency, one that has really taken a lot of us by surprise. Virtually the entire world has closed its doors. There is a global economic, not just shutdown, but a blackout. Entire industries have collapsed. They've had to turn off their lights, close their doors, and unfortunately send their employees home. Of course, I'm talking about the novel coronavirus disease of 2019, also known as COVID-19. This pandemic, this coronavirus pandemic has affected many, many people across the world. Frankly, every single person is affected by this in some shape or form. Not just by the ripple effect that has come from China to South Korea, to Iran, to Italy, to Spain, and now to our shores here in America. This pandemic has seized our lives, and we are now faced with a surprising and unprecedented new challenge. It's not just a crisis of employment, not just a crisis of health. It is a crisis of humanity. We're being faced with very important questions. Some are sticking by their principles, and others are doing everything they can to make sure that we stop the spread of this virus. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges of COVID-19, why this is such a pressing issue for the world. It is a very contagious virus. It's in fact contagious before showing symptoms. That makes this a very difficult virus to track. That is the reason why we have such extreme measures being taken by governments around the world to help mitigate and stop the spread of this virus. Because it's very difficult to identify who may be carrying this virus. And it's also important to understand that being tested allows people to identify who has the virus and to stop the spread by staying home. But staying home also ensures that you are taking that extra step to just stopping the spread of the virus completely. The virus also lives on common surfaces, up to 14 days. That is why it's important to clean surfaces that are commonly touched in public spaces, as well as in businesses, workplaces, churches, whatnot. It's important not just to clean those surfaces, but also to ensure that you're practicing good hygiene, meaning do not touch your face. That will help mitigate the spread of the virus. Once you stop touching your face, that's one way the virus will not capture you. Another part that you also want to make sure that you're doing is you're washing your hands. But again, even if you wash your hands, it's good just not to touch your face. But washing your hands, and it's a good time to start watching videos on how to wash your hands correctly. I learned a few things. There's things that, ways that you're supposed to wash your hand that I didn't even know I was supposed to do. But it's a really, if you follow and watch how viruses spread, the science is amazing. When someone sneezes in the air, those viruses stay in the air for sometimes 3 hours, if not more. So when people sneeze and they don't cover their sneeze, that helps the spread farther and farther into the air, and it covers a large amount of space. So again, it's a good reason why we have to wash our hands, don't touch your face, be very aware of what's going on, and if someone had sneezed perhaps in your space, it's a good time to walk out of that space, because you can, just from inhaling, you can get this virus. And the virus spreads very quickly in churches and places like the workplace. The church is why it spreads so quickly in South Korea. That the case, I believe it's patient 31, where this patient knew and had been tested positive for the coronavirus and still attended church. That virus, of course, spread to a large number of people in that church, and then further spread to their households and again to where they work. And this is a good reason why we have to be aware of not just washing our hands and covering your mouth when sneezing and not touching your face, but it's also a big reason why we have to practice what is now being commonly referred to as social distancing. So again, 6 feet of space between you and the next person, and also just straying away from going anywhere where there are multiple people, more than 10. That's a great way to mitigate the spread of the virus. Some people, of course, don't have that choice. And that really goes into the workplace. And again, there's a huge, just the reason why we've actually seen such a large and vast shutdown of non-essential businesses and large areas or large gathering places like bars, nightclubs, casinos, resorts. The reason why we're seeing the closure of those, or the forced closure of those facilities, is because they harbor the virus. The virus does spread far quicker in situations and environments like that. Of course, before the governor's order here in Nevada, businesses began rolling back some operations. They began closing buffets, and just there was just a build up to that, to eventually a order by the governor to shut down all of these, what is considered by them to be non-essential businesses. Again, by limiting the amount of people who can gather in a place where we can't identify who might have the virus, and as it spreads and it stays on surfaces for a large amount of time, we don't know who has the virus, yet it's still in the air. And again, employees who are at the mercy of all of this. So casinos and resorts closed, and that's led, of course, to huge economic problems. But it was a step that was necessary, not just for the state, but also for businesses. Businesses wanted nothing to do with this outbreak. And this virus, the reason, even if there is a lower mortality rate than other diseases, even though some are saying that certain groups of people are relatively unaffected by the virus, it still poses a tremendous risk to elderly or those with pre-existing health conditions. It's a respiratory disease, like SARS. So it can be very deadly for those that have pre-existing breathing issues, any respiratory complications that you might have had from the past. And again, keep in mind, there's some people that don't even know that that's one of them. So even if the virus may not affect you, and you strongly believe it will not affect you, it may affect someone else. So again, some of these programs, some of these things that we're discussing in the health community, it's meant to just really, not just keep the numbers low, but also just frankly to stop the spread of the virus. We all have our part in this. This is why we say we're all in this together, because we truly are. And it's important that we do take the pandemic seriously. You may not take the disease seriously, but understand the pandemic is real and the pandemic is serious. One part that I should not have skipped here is how it's overwhelmed medical centers across the world. This ultimately was the thing that really drove America to take this seriously and to implement non-essential businesses to close, as well as to ban those from going out to public areas such as beaches and whatnot. And the reason why is because, again, even if the virus may not affect you, it will affect someone else. And that person is then at the mercy of our healthcare market. And we are overwhelming our hospitals and treatment centers unlike we've ever seen, but really before. This is a major crisis, and our entire healthcare system is really struggling to make it through this moment. So by doing our part, we also help them. I have a family member that had to go to the hospital or had a planned appointment with their doctor just last week. They had to reschedule, and they had to reschedule because that facility is overwhelmed by responding to COVID-19. So this has affected a lot of people, even those who are not directly affected by the virus itself. It has repercussions. It's a domino effect. Okay, it not just overwhelms the ICUs. It overwhelms the entire medical community. There's just not enough hands on deck, and supplies are waning. So this is a very important moment for us. Okay, we have to take this seriously. Of course, the virus outbreak has crippled the world economy. We are headed towards a recession. I do believe it will be one that will have very long-lasting effects. I believe, let's rewind this a little bit. Last week, more than 100 of my coworkers were let go. They were laid off. Some of them had just started, and things were booming. The economy was looking good. The numbers within our company were amazing. But this coronavirus outbreak has effectively bursted our entire bubble, the entire world. The entire world's economy has proven how fragile it is. I personally believe that this is one of the great waves, I think, of major layoffs that we will be facing in this so-called fourth industrial revolution. People are working from home. The people who are working from home are grateful they can work from home. It means that they're safe. It means they continue to work, and it means they continue to get a steady income. That's very important. But it's also shown that many of the jobs that people drive miles and miles to, it can be done from home. So I think a lot of companies will start to analyze and reassess whether or not they will keep some of their office facilities, whether or not these people should continue to work from home. This is going to create ripple effects, of course, in how the public perceives future pandemics or future outbreaks. Are we going to be a germophobic community? Or it's not a bad thing to wash your hands and to practice good hygiene. These are things that, again, prevent the spread of this virus. So these are good things, and it's good to practice these things. But this is going to change our entire way of life. Large gatherings, conferences, they're so fragile, not just by disruptions in the travel market, of course, not just traveling, but the entire market of hospitality and tourism and conferences, and many sectors of the economy has completely shut down. Because of fear and panic for this virus, there's less travel, there's less business, businesses shutter. There is a domino effect. It's huge. We're looking at 5.32% unemployed, and that number will surely go up. I've heard 20% nationally. That is huge. That is huge. We're looking at about 66,000 jobs that will be lost from now through summer. And the outlook for how long, the timetable for how long this global event will take place, we're a little unsure of. And we're looking at 3 million newly unemployed nationwide by summer 2020. That is the Great Depression level of economic devastation. One of the very unfortunate side effects of really the concern that people have for this virus is the panic that it has caused. And we're seeing mass panic that has unfortunately affected some of our markets. And it's led to short-term shortages. We're not looking at a shortage of food, we're not looking at a shortage of supplies, yet we're facing that day to day because panic has led to people overbuying. So Americans are buying excessive amounts of goods and essentials. And that has made it difficult for people who may be more vulnerable to the virus to just get the materials that they need to stay home for the next couple of weeks. It's a fight every day to get some of the most basic supplies. And it's not because we're out, it's because of large amounts of people buying. A lot of these people hoarding these supplies. And of course, to prevent hoarding and kind of this panic buying of supplies, some retailers have implemented price gouging. It is actually meant to prevent hoarding of supplies by raising those prices. But then again, it also raises the prices for lower income Americans. So keep in mind, when you panic buy and start hoarding supplies from everybody else, you affect people in ways that you do not even understand. So let's be considerate. You don't need years long of supplies of paper towels and whatnot. These things will be readily available throughout this entire crisis. There is no reason to rush to stores and to purchase these items now. You're only making it more difficult for people, especially elderly people, who are already facing challenges with transportation, getting there, and trying to stray away from actually catching this virus. And again, markets are keeping up with the increased demand by hiring. I've read articles where Smiths and grocers everywhere, including even Amazon. Amazon is hiring up. A figure of, it's a six-figure number, something like 120,000 people they're looking to hire nationwide. Whether it's just through this moment or even long-term, this is good. This is good, and it also means that we're going to be able to keep maintaining the supplies, and we will meet demand. So that's very optimistic. And again, we have to highlight some of the heroic work that is being done. And it is heroic because anyone that's really going out right now and that's working and really in these essential positions, what we've dictated to be essential positions because they are really important to our lives, to our well-being. So we got to thank the truckers, we got to thank the manufacturers, the delivery drivers, and even the storekeepers for keeping America running. That is very important, and just a little, not even a little, a large applause for all of those people. Thank you so much. We also got to look at some of the things that government regulation has done to actually prevent an accelerated market where we can get these supplies a little faster. There are some laws and regulations that we can look at after this whole event has passed us, at ways that we can help accelerate our ability to replenish our supply in markets everywhere. I think Amazon, despite my personal feelings about Amazon, we got to look at their model. Why is it such a successful business model? It's the fact that they can get supplies to people very quickly. They have an amazing delivery system that is, they have fulfillment centers that are in virtually every large metropolitan area, meaning that you can get same-day delivery for a lot of materials. That is an amazing business model, and it's the reason why they're doing so well. And in a moment like this is we have to be grateful that we can, even if our grandparents can't order food online, we can order it for them. It shows up to their doorstep, and they don't risk their lives going out there just to get some of the essentials they need. But we have to be serious about this entire moment, and we have to look at ways that we can stimulate the economy. And when I say stimulate the economy, we have to look at some of the mistakes that we've made in the past, especially in 2008. Let's not pad this for the industries that have fallen. The industries that have fallen and that have failed in this moment, they were fragile industries. They were industries that had to make a decision whether to keep their workers or to fire them, and many of them have decided to lay people off. And those same corporations are hoping that they are included in a federal bailout. I truly believe that a market should be competitive, and that means ending any subsidies or stimulus packages given to corporations. We shouldn't be investing in corporations, we should be investing in people. That is why I am calling for an emergency UBI to be included in a federal stimulus package for all Americans through this COVID-19 pandemic. This is important. I believe that any stimulus package that is passed by Congress, and I believe from my understanding they are deliberating and holding a procedural vote right this instant on this bill, I think it's very important that we include cash payments to every single American. We need to get cash in the hands of Americans, everyday Americans, not corporations, into the hands of people. That is how we ensure that we maintain a strong economy through this COVID-19 blackout. It's important that when we do UBI, and there are a lot of relief packages and a lot of stimulus packages that are being proposed right now, to me it is very important that we ensure that it is not means tested. Now, what this means is that we will not be looking at your previous tax filing to see your income and then to determine whether or not you get cash relief during this crisis. This will take far too much time and will help fuel a bloated, expensive bureaucracy that will then filter through and decide whether or not that person should get a check from the US Treasury. I believe we should quickly disperse these checks to everyone. To everyone. Everyone is feeling the pinch. And again, it's going to the hands of people, not to corporations. I would hope that in this package, they include at least $2,400 a month to every US citizen. It is important that we maintain that $2,400 minimum through the weeks of economic blackout. And we're expecting weeks, if not months, where people are not allowed to go outside their homes, and in many cases, their businesses are not allowed to operate. Yet the bills continue to stack up. Even if they're deferred, even if they're forgiven, those things still mount up. These costs do not disappear. And if we continue to fuel the buying power of Americans, it ensures that we're not leading to a recession of Americans, millions of Americans who have defaulted on loans and face tremendous credit issues. And also, a UBI, an emergency UBI, a federal program, will incentivize Americans to stay home during this outbreak. We have this outbreak prevention period, and it's very important that we all try to abide by this to the best of our ability so that we can get over this terrible moment in American history and frankly in world history. And again, the UBI empowers the consumers, not the corporations. We're putting the money into the hands of American citizens. UBI would be such a great program in this moment. It would show how important cash power is to Americans in this type of economy. But let's try to look at what UBI could do for us every single day and what it could do for us long term. Right here is a graph of the 2020 discretionary budget. Now, as a libertarian, I look at this and I can think of a few areas where we can cut spending. And I also see many areas where we can help or we can push and contribute some of those funds towards a UBI program, a federal UBI program. I believe that UBI, if done right, and this is for all of the Milton Friedman fans, let's look at how we can restructure our government, how we can restructure health and human services and welfare programs, and how we can reform them as a stronger UBI program for all Americans. If we were to even look at UBI as a dividend on a percentage of federal revenue, let's say 25%. Let's say we set 25% of all collected tax revenue from the previous year, and we disperse it equally to every single American citizen without any bureaucracy, no means testing. That puts thousands of dollars into the hands of people every single year. It doesn't just supplement their income. It will help empower them to do more, to start their own businesses, to start up secondary enterprises. This is good for us. It fuels that capitalistic buying power. And there are many ways that we can help push this through in not just this current congressional session, but even the one that I'm running for, which is the 117th congressional session, starting in January of 2021. If we can make a UBI program, a basic income program, federally, and to propose it in 2021, I believe it's very important that we start first with opting states in, meaning that it's up to the state to decide whether or not they're going to opt into this program. And if not, these funds will be then given to the federal funding of federal and certain state programs, certain state financial assistance and welfare programs. I think this is a good way to start sparking that need and that desire and to sway public opinion towards UBI. And it means to start with the states. I think there are many states throughout the nation where I think you could start to build some consensus, some positive consensus for UBI. Which, by the way, this is a shout out for Burke Anderson. He's running for the Nevada Assembly. He's running as a Democrat, so go ahead and support him in his race this June. This is a very tough time to be campaigning, so I want to give my full support to Burke Anderson, who is advocating for UBI here in Nevada. That makes him a very unique candidate. From my understanding, he's the only state legislative candidate who is running on UBI. I think it's something to explore. It's a great idea, it's sustainable, and it's fair. It goes to everyone. It's not means tested, and it puts money into the hands of everyday Americans. So again, check out Burke Anderson. He has a Facebook page. I'll link it soon, and hopefully I can have him on more of perhaps a future UBI video program that we do. So stay tuned for that as well. How do we fund it? There are many ways to fund it. I personally would like to see us step away from our current tax system. I do believe that the income tax system is unfair. I think it's unfair. I think it has far too many loopholes. And it's a little complicated for lower income Americans to figure out and to maximize their refunds. That's your money. You deserve to get it back. That is one of the reasons why I've been advocating for fair tax. Fair tax is another economic policy I would like to propose if elected. And fair tax, of course, acts as a national sales tax. So whether you're traveling, you're a foreigner, or even someone who just recently was granted immigration status to the United States, everyone contributes to this fair tax system because it's a sales tax. It's collected at the point of transaction, which really it makes this whole tax system less complicated. And you're still looking at collecting 10 to 15% of the annual GDP, which is roughly the same amount that we get with the income tax. But again, I believe I think it's more fair than we have with the current tax system. It's something that everyone will understand. It makes sense. And in addition to that, the fair tax system actually does have a little bit of UBI integrated into it. The fair tax system provides a monthly rebate The numbers here are for the 2013 proposal. For the 2021 proposal, I think the numbers, and those are things that can be discussed by committee so that we figure out the right numbers for this program. But the monthly rebate, essentially the way it works is that every month everyone will be given this fixed amount, mattering on, of course, the size of their household. We can include that. We don't have to include that. Again, there are many areas that we can fix and to adjust a few things that it may not be as fair or may not fuel this program as successfully. We can look at ways that we can fix that. But again, the monthly rebate, it provides a fixed amount every month to everyone. That way we can maintain that everyone has a base level of income every year. And again, that's very much like UBI. But the rebate, of course, ensures that people who are lower income aren't being regressively taxed by fair tax because they are going to be spending a lot of money at the stores, and a lot of that's going to reflect sales tax. Whereas wealthier people might harbor some of those sales within their company or shelter it in other loophole tax systems. So that's a big area that we have to look at fixing. But again, the whole model of fair tax, I think, is far more progressive and far fairer than anything else that's been proposed in years. And again, we can also look at land value tax. That's another way to fund this program. Not in addition to what we're already taxing people. I'm advocating for less taxes, but I do like these two tax programs. I do like fair tax, and I do like land value tax. I believe those are two taxation models that could work very well with funding UBI. Let's talk about UBI, Universal Basic Income for the economy. It's going to really fuel, again, like I said, the capitalistic buying power of people. A lot of people like to say that UBI, and maybe in some proposals of UBI might lead to inflation. Of course, that depends on the Federal Reserve. It depends on general federal spending, and it of course matters on the federal deficit. We're way past that this year. Again, with this crisis, it's important that we just stimulate people and we get money in the hands of people. This is a very tough moment. We got to make sure that we're fueling people. We have to provide an income to these people. If we're shutting down their businesses, the government has to serve the people, and this is a moment where they have to serve the people, and I think UBI is a great example of that. But long-term, UBI can continue to do that. I think this is something that we have to take a look at. You look at Alaska's Permanent Resident Fund. It's a fairly popular program, and we could do better with that nationally. And again, it fuels your buying power. You're not just buying more, but you can choose what you spend these funds on. You know, unlike means-tested programs, where again you are enrolled in a federal program or you have financial assistance with purchasing food, you can purchase whatever you want with UBI. And maybe you can save a little bit of that. End up buying a home. These are good things. And we also have to look at how UBI helps healthcare. The healthcare industry is astronomical. There are certain areas that are far beyond what anyone could receive in monthly UBI checks. But if we look at a free market healthcare system, especially with drugs, especially now when we're discussing how can we get a vaccine into people's hands, what did they propose to get vaccines for the coronavirus disease of 2019? How do they expect to get that in the hands of people faster? By deregulating our current drug market. The FDA and many other approval processes that we have here in this country is what's really restricting our ability to get a vaccine, to get a cure out into the public. And if we were to actually have a free market drug system, we could have that on the market far sooner than we have or are actually looking at having it right now. And we can also get the price down because there's competition. The price goes down UBI can help people obtain the drugs that they need. You look at the prescription market, a lot of people are dependent on Medicare Part D programs, like my grandfather. There's a lot of people, they're limited by their drug options because of these insurance markets and these restrictions that we have on healthcare. So again, if we have UBI and we have a free market, the drugs will be lower in cost and people can get them without even needing to go through an insurer. Keep in mind, the insurance market complicates things. In many ways, it may lower the price for certain things, and in other cases, especially with drugs, they don't do very much, and in fact, sometimes they push the prices up. Whole market effects. We're just seeing costs go up because of the introduction, because of the interference of not just government, but also insurers. And also, let's talk about how UBI can be applied to criminal justice reform. When these people serve their time and they are free people, transitioning to civilian life is very difficult when you cannot obtain a job and don't have very many funds to begin with. UBI helps get these people rolling so that they can start transitioning back to civilian life and doing better for themselves. It's another great benefit of having UBI. And UBI, although I believe it should be restricted to U.S. citizens as a benefit for being a citizen, because of this talk of implementing fair tax to help fund it, how this applies to foreign relations is, again, when we have this international business, when we have these funds, this revenue coming from international countries, they're filtering through that fair tax system, and we're collecting revenue from those transactions. This eradicates the tariffs that we have currently, and it creates a single model for taxation on all goods. This helps, again, fuel our UBI. And for those who aspire to be Americans, they see the beauty in our capitalist system when UBI is implemented. Through this feed, I've noticed a few people tune in, but if anyone has any questions, now would be the time for that. I'm just going to scroll through the feed really quickly, and I don't see any questions at this moment. I'll just leave this on for just a moment to see if anyone has any questions. And it doesn't have to be just about UBI or any of the things that we discussed. It could extend far beyond UBI and fair tax and the coronavirus disease of 2019. And again, if you miss it and you just put the question on this Facebook feed, I'll come back around and I will answer all of these questions. Doesn't look like we have any questions coming in just this moment. Again, we do have a lot of questions that have already been pre-answered. Throughout this campaign, and we started this in June of last year, a lot of people have asked me questions. I've answered them personally, some of them online, and we have a good collection of them that have been added to voteforesteban.com/FAQ. So go ahead to voteforesteban.com/FAQ. Those are frequently asked questions, and there's quite a few of them, and hopefully that answers some of the questions that, or questions to things that have not been covered in this video. I do think this Facebook Live feed was actually a lot better than I thought it would be, so perhaps we'll carry on with this next month. Next month, I would like to discuss healthcare. I think it is the time to discuss a full healthcare plan for Nevada, and we'll be talking about that at my next. I will be talking about that in my next town hall, which will be next month. So sometime in April, hopefully we'll have hopefully we'll have a venue to actually do it at. I love doing these in person. If not, we'll continue to do these as virtual town halls. Again, if you know any way to do a virtual town hall that's better than Facebook Live, let me know. Brianna, how do I expect to convince libertarians on UBI? I do think that there is a small number of libertarians that have actually come around to UBI. I think when you start discussing it and you talking about it, again, Milton Friedman had discussed it at one point. There is a basis to it of being a far more sustainable, economical program for America. Of course, some libertarians don't want to hear anything of it at all. But again, keep in mind, I'm running to represent the people of Nevada's 4th Congressional District. So I listen to what they say. I listen to the people that come out to these events. I read letters that come to me. So those are the ones that I'm gonna strictly prioritize the people here in Nevada and engage them on UBI. Of course, I'm not just gonna propose it in Congress. I wanna pitch it to people here in Nevada first. And if Nevadans don't want it, that is something that I'm gonna have to fight for. I'm gonna have to fight to show them the light to this program. It's not something that is widely popular. It's gaining traction, unfortunately, because of this coronavirus. People are talking about UBI for the first time in a positive light. We're seeing that it could actually be done. It absolutely could be done. It's not intangible. So I do think public opinion will turn on it. I do think Nevadans will be keen on it. And again, I don't want to implement a UBI program nationally that would force every single state into either losing federal funding for the programs they have in state in exchange for UBI. I think they should have an opt-in. The states should decide whether or not they want to participate in the UBI program. But I think it would be very beneficial for people. I think I'm going to sell Nevadans on it. I got many, many months to do it, and before I ever propose it on the House floor, I would like to discuss it with Nevadans and see what they say and areas that we can fix. But again, even if it doesn't get passed as a standalone bill, implementing it in fair tax as a rebate, I think it could be something that Nevadans would actually be keen on. Nevadans don't like they don't like the income tax. That's one of the reasons why we moved here. So if we can get rid of the federal tax system, the federal income tax, and to replace it with the fair tax as a national sales tax, I think Nevadans would be far more keen on supporting that proposal. I would also point out to a lot of my supporters, a lot of people who are tuned into this video, this pandemic has unfortunately derailed everyone's political campaigns. For a person like me, definitely the small train, the little train that could, right? We can't exercise some of the grassroots methods of campaigning. Going door to door right now is not the ticket. So we are going to be way behind in this race, and that's why I'm asking everyone to take a look at our website, to go to voteforesteban.com/donate. Now is the time. We need to be able to meet goals for first quarter of 2020, and we'd like quarter 2 to be even larger. And these virtual town halls will be a big part of keeping this train running during this pandemic, this global pandemic. But at the same time, we need the financial resources to compete in this race, because our competitors have a treasure chest of millions of dollars available to them, and they are hedging their bets on television ads. It's as simple as that. Here in Nevada, that's really what will tilt you in the favor of voters. And frankly, that's all some people need. You don't need to engage people in knocking doors, shaking hands, doing events. A lot of times it's just the ads. So we need to have the financial resources that our competitors have. So if everyone could just pitch in, I'm asking every single family, friend, new supporters, new faces, people who are encouraged by our message, people who enjoy this town hall, people who support UBI, people who want these ideas brought to the national stage. Please, 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 I'm asking for your donation. It is very important that we post very high numbers this quarter. We got a few days left. This whole thing has derailed us, but we are still committed to doing our best. And we're gonna have to be scrappier than ever. We've gotta be scrappier than ever because we're gonna have to think more creatively to get this done and to actually get this name, Esteban, elected this year. One of the things that we love about our in-person town halls is that we want to do raffles. We love to give things away. We love to give people merchandise. One of our most popular items, in fact, it is the most popular item on our website, voteforesteban.com/store. We have a store with a ton of merchandise, and I think they're pretty cool. We do have these color-changing mugs. So they activate in hot water. I don't have hot water on me at the very moment. I could turn it on. It's not like I don't have it in this facility. I just don't have it ready to show you how this works. But believe me, this is one of our most popular items. This is a color-changing mug. Once you pour hot water into it, it will reveal the graphic underneath. The one that we have online right now says "Dissent is American." It has the American flag on it. We have a new one that we'll be adding tonight. This one does say UBI is the future. Of course, you can't see it right now. We will have a video of what it looks like when hot water is placed in here, so you get a better idea of what this mug looks like. But it's black. It's a glossy black right now. With hot water, it reveals the graphic. It says Team Esteban 2020 on one side, and it shows UBI is the future on the other. To get a good look of what that graphic looks like, we have another item which we already have online, and we'll be updating it because it has an older version of the graphic. We have the UBI is the future graphic. This is a eco-tote, so you can go and shop with it, and you can show your advocacy for UBI. Right there on the bag has Esteban for Congress on the other side. That's available on the store. Later tonight, we'll be posting all of that. We will have a discount code available, and that's going to be UBI. UBI. Put that as your discount code. That's going to get you an extra 15% off. That will be available later tonight. We'll be uploading these new products shortly. We'll also have voteforesteban.com/COVID-19 as a reference for some of the federal programs that will be provided to Nevadans. I want to make sure that Nevadans are aware of what they can take advantage of. Hey, this is your money. Take the help that you need during this time. In addition to that, we'll also have voteforesteban.com/UBI, where we'll also have some more information about how UBI is picking up steam. So again, you can purchase these items online with that sale code. That's UBI, just UBI, all capitals. So all uppercase, UBI, that's your discount code. You get an extra 15% off of these select items. This is a really great item, really seriously. A lot of people have purchased this. They really enjoyed it. They think it's really fun. And we'll have more of that. Other themed cups, hopefully coming soon with our future town halls. And let's raise the stakes. For every donation, $10 or more, that puts you in a raffle to get this mailed to you. We'll have more details later tonight. Again, you can follow me at Vote for Esteban, at Vote for Esteban, that's number 4. So at Vote for Esteban on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And you can also find our full website at voteforesteban.com. My name is Jonathan Royce Esteban. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this town hall, this March, UBI Town Hall. Thank you so much, and be safe out there, and wash your hands.